All right, Daniel, before we get to the nuts and bolts of this interview, congratulations on your new series, man.
Oh, man.
Detail on ESPN
Yeah.
Plus, huh? Tell me about how that came together.
You know, they were looking for someone to do it, and the UFC started saying, you know, DC's probably going to be great at it, so you should listen to him. So I got into my room at my house. I put my video games and everything. I put my phone on record, and I started talking about the Conor versus Khabib fight, and I sent it in, and they were just like, when can you start? Yeah. And it's just been great. You know, I was doing a wrestling tournament down in Southern California. They said, can you meet Kobe? And I'm like, of course I can meet Kobe. So I went to meet Kobe on Friday morning before the tournament started. We sat and we talked for about an hour, and it was all systems go. It's perfect.
Well, people in the comments, when they see these videos, they're gonna accuse me for buttering you up too much. But you're a talented guy, man. I mean, just it seems like anything you do, they're like, yeah, when can we take you, DC? When can we get you involved?
Man, just, you know, I didn't always have a lot of options. You know, after the Olympics in 2008, like the options were very slim. So anytime I get one now, I try to push full steam ahead at it, and I work hard towards trying to accomplish things, and it seems to be paying off. So yeah. I'm glad you guys can see it, appreciate it.
Well, okay, so all that said, what are you doing here, man? You turned 40 a few months ago. Yeah. You said that was going to be the retirement date. So why are you sitting in this chair across from me and talking about another fight?
You know, I wanted to fight one more time. After I fought Derek Lewis, that was one that wasn't even on the books, right? That was kind of me being asked to do a favor to the organization. You know, my target date was always March 2nd to kind of get it in before I turned 40. I had back surgery, so I wasn't able to do that in March, and I, you know, wanted to make this last fight. I thought it was going to be Lesnar. When it wasn't, I thought I owed Miocic a rematch, as I said from the moment I beat him.
Why was it important to you to have one more fight? I mean, I know that, like you just said, that fight kind of came up out of nowhere, but hey, you won it. It was in Madison Square Garden. Yeah. Why not walk out on that one?
You know, man, I just want to fight again, you know. Like, I knew I wanted to fight at least one more time. I wanted to at least make the walk again. You know, that's why you see guys hang around way too long, because it's like a drug. The most addicting drug you could ever have is walking through that curtain. And I knew that I needed to make that walk at least one more time. I knew I wanted it to be done by the time I was 40, but when it didn't happen, I knew that walk still had to be made. So that's why I'm fighting Stipe.
So when it turned out that it wasn't Brock and they call you for Stipe, does any small part of you say, all right, no, now I'm done. I wanted to make that walk again, but this one doesn't make sense. Was there anything like that?
You know, when they said to me, you know, Brock's done, it's going to be Miocic again, if you want him. You know, I said, yeah, I'll fight Stipe. Because I said to him afterwards, because initially he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to fight a guy that was fighting at light heavyweight. You know, I hadn't fought at heavyweight in 5 years. You know, he kind of did that. And I was like, if I don't get to fight Brock, I'll fight him again. You know, it was always, I'll fight him again. And then when they said, you know, it's Miocic, I go, okay, I'll fight him. You know, I want to fight again. And it's a guy that's justfully in this position. He was only getting jumped because of the lure of such a big payday with Lesnar, and everything that came with a Lesnar fight was very alluring to me. And when it wasn't him, you know, it needed to be Stipe.
Well, what do you gain, other than a nice fat paycheck, I'm sure, in the mail?
Yeah, obviously, you know, you still get paid.
What do you gain from fighting Stipe? You knocked him out in the first round 1 year ago.
You know, Brett, I can't do it better. That's one thing that you can. That's one thing that we had to understand right away. I can't do this better than I did the first time. You know, I'm not going to knock Stipe Miocic out in 4 minutes. You know, he's got a great coach, and he's a good fighter that's going to make adjustments to not get put to sleep. But that does not mean he's going to win the fight. I'm going to win the fight, and I get to go out there and defeat the guy that people thought is the best of all time again. You know, so when you start to change the mentality, change the approach, change what the goals are, it starts to make sense, right? Because the more I do in this division, the more it cements a legacy in this division. Because after this, beating the guy that was supposed to be the greatest of all time twice and never losing in this division ever, they got to start to put me atop those leaderboards of the greatest heavyweight of all time. As I think I'm in the conversation already for greatest fighter of all time. I don't know how it gets mixed up in terms of why am I not the greatest heavyweight.
Well, I'm not a professional athlete, so I'm speculating here. But everything you say about the walk and, that feeling, that adrenaline of the curtains opening up and you walk into the octagon and that sense of feeling there's nothing else like it, that I can understand, I can comprehend. But what is this camp going to be like for you? What is this camp going to be, all those days leading up to that moment? How's the motivation level for it?
It's been crazy. It was hard, man. Initially, it was hard. I started at, I think it's almost been about 6 weeks now, 5 weeks of training. I did a 4-week pre-camp just to get ready to fight because you don't know how your body's going to respond after surgery and being away so long. I haven't fought since November. So I took some time to get going. I had to lose some weight. I'm still more than I want to be than I'm going to be for the fight, but I was 15 pounds heavier than I am now. So I had to do a lot of things in order to prepare myself to give myself a chance to compete at the best of my ability. So it was tough. Early it was tough. It was like, gosh, can I do this anymore? But now, as I've started to groove again, it feels natural. It feels like, yeah, I love doing this still.
When you started that pre-camp, were you the heaviest that you've ever been in your life?
Ever in my life. I was like 261 pounds. Yeah. Hey, I was living a cushy life, man. I made all that money in New York. I was calling fights, doing detail, coaching wrestling. I look at some of the wrestling pictures from the state tournament like, boy, you're living good. Trying to fit in an extra large, and I probably should have been in the double X. I was wearing like rash guards out there.
Will you be back to that by Christmas of this year?
I'm hoping to God, man. I got to do better. I've really got to do better. Well, what happened was I really was not able to do anything because of the surgery. And I think anytime I don't do anything, it's a bad thing because I enjoy food. And if you enjoy food and you don't get to work out at all, I couldn't run, I couldn't lift, I couldn't wrestle anymore. Like before, even when I'm not fighting, what would keep my weight down was, even if I was out of camp, I'll still go to the gym 2-3 days a week and spar and wrestling and sometimes do jiu-jitsu. I couldn't do any of that. So I just was sitting on my butt from December all the way till 6 weeks ago.
Is it worth it at all for me to ask about Jon Jones? I mean, should I be asking you about Jon Jones in an interview like this?
I think it never takes long for someone to ask a Jon Jones question. But the reality of it is, he has business to tend to this weekend. And I've got business to tend to in August. There's always going to be something to him and I fighting because all the theatrics that come with it. So, it's never very long until someone asks about it.
Mm-hmm. Just you yourself, though, do you want to fight the guy? Like, if you could fight him tomorrow, if we could get him in here and we could clear out some space in this room, would you want to fight the guy?
We always fight. This is not limited to just the times in the octagon. These have been occasions outside of the octagon. There are situations outside of what the public knows where Jon and I have butted heads. It's just what it is. I've come to accept that my relationship in regards to him will always be that. And I don't see why there's any reason why it should change. I don't care. I don't need him. I really don't need to fight him. If I do, it'll be on my terms now. I'm the heavyweight champ of the world. I'm the guy that won 2 belts at once. I did everything. I could never fight him again and be okay. Because ultimately, every time we fought, there was something, and that's okay for me.
And just for the record, quickly, what would your terms be for that third fight?
A lot of money. A lot of money. A lot of money. It'd be a lot of money, and it would have to be enough time for me to go back to 205 and beat him where he beat me. I think that's key to me. I'm not so sold on him coming up to heavyweight, something he's never done before. So when I went to heavyweight and beat Stipe Miocic, I was already 13-0 in this weight class. It's nothing new. But for him to come up and fight in that weight division for the first time against a guy that's never lost there, that's a big ask, even for a guy like that.
Yeah, and I can understand why you're saying that. But you come from the analyst world, and I got to tell you, if I lined up all who I consider some of the best analysts in this sport, and even your own team, I think every single one of them would tell you don't go back to 205. If you fight Jon, fight him in heavyweight. You're on an island on your own on this decision. Why does it have to be a 205?
Because ultimately, whenever those decisions are made, those are your decisions to make. Bob does. I never disagree with Bob Cook, but that's one of the issues where he's like, God, please don't go back down there if you have to. You take so much out of yourself. But, I don't want to stack the deck. I don't want to stack the deck. I want to go and overcome odds. It's what I've done my whole life. I've always overcome. And there will be more questions than ever if I go into a third fight with him at 205 pounds. Well, you got beat the first time and you got knocked out the second time. How do you expect to win? That's me, though. That's me. Even in the face of severe and dire adversity, I feel like I can overcome. And I want to be able to overcome again.
Do you think it happens?
It's going to cost a lot of money. I think when we talk about the terms of the fight happening, it'll cost a lot of money, but it'll make a lot of money. And it just depends on what the UFC and we got to come to terms. Before it was me. I just got to fight Jon Jones. It's not like that for me anymore, right? Before it was like, get to him first, get a title shot. I lost. I'm like, I got to get back to him regardless. No, I went and did everything I've done. I don't need him anymore. So for me, it's not just I got to fight Jon Jones. You got to pay me to fight him if you want me to. Because ultimately, I don't feel it'll ever just be me and him fighting. Because if we fight again, there will be something again. Yeah. Because there always is.
So last question. When you walk to the octagon on August 17th to fight Stipe Miocic, it sounds like you will not know if that's the last fight of your career. Very well possibly could be. Yep. Or who knows, the UFC opens the bank and gives you whatever you want and you fight Jon Jones a third time. But what do you think that will feel like walking to the octagon, kind of mentally preparing that like this could be the last time I do it, but also knowing that it may not be? That seems like a weird situation mentally to put yourself.
Well, I think it's just every fight at this point. Even last year, it was still like, I'll be done by 40, but if I would have got beat last year, I probably would have been done faster. It's not. There's no guarantee. I understand that at 39, 40 years old, the curtain could close at any moment. Not many guys are doing what I do at 40. Very few guys can compete at this level as they get it to this age group. I mean, you got a couple football players, Drew Brees and Tom Brady. Basketball players by this point are kind of starting to fade off for sure because they don't have the legs. Yeah, man, I'm still fighting. It's difficult, but I understand that every fight's one at a time, and that's how it has to stay.
It's always a pleasure speaking to you, and congrats on detail again, man. Looking forward to the rematch with Miocic on August 17th.
Brett, you're the man.
Hello, everyone. It's Ariel Helwani. I just came here to thank you for watching our ESPN YouTube channel. It's the best. You know what else is the best? The ESPN app. You can get highlights, analysis, all that stuff and more. And if you want premium content and live streaming sports, there's only one place for all of that. It's ESPN Plus.